Yeah, so everybody, I am Pinga. I'm the director for Office of Workforce Development for Teachers and Scientists and the Office of Science from US Department of Energy. I'm very glad to have the opportunity to meet and talk with everybody. I would like to introduce my colleague, Alison Tripler. She's a AAAS Science and Technology Policy Fellow with DOE Office of Science and has been working with my office for almost 2 years now. I let Alison to say a few words about herself. Thank you, Alison.
Thank you, Ping. Hi, everyone. Good to see you all here today. As Ping mentioned, I'm a AAAS Fellow, Science Technology Policy Fellow in the Office of Science. And in addition to that, my connection to NSF includes is also through participating in a couple of interagency working groups under the Federal Committee for Coordination on STEM. And so in particular through the interagency working group on strategic partnerships, we've done several activities with NSF includes several webinars showcasing federal opportunities. So those are my connections to this event today.
So Brett, shall I start sharing slides?
Yeah, sure, that'd be great. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So in order to help facilitate the discussion today, I would like to give a high-level overview of workforce development activities in the STEM area sponsored by DOE Office of Science as a starting point to support the discussion. Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, Brett, can you see my screen clearly?
Yes, it looks good to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just technical check. Okay, so oops. So before getting into the programs, I think it may be helpful to first provide some context by briefly talking about the DOE's role in STEM effort. Department of Energy has a long history of supporting the training of scientists, engineers, and technicians. The scope of DOE STEM effort covers two major types of activities: the training of highly skilled scientific and technological workers, and promoting science and energy literacy in support of DOE mission. The largest DOE investment on training of the next generation workforce is made by R&D grants to universities and national laboratories. The Office of Science has a vibrant ecosystem for workforce development, including 6 large research programs on basic research and the 2 new offices focused on advanced technology development. They support a large number of graduate students and postdoc researchers annually, and in addition, support training in highly specialized areas unique to DOE Office of Science mission. Just give you a few examples here: high performance computing, accelerated science, instrumentation, nuclear physics, nuclear chemistry, and isotope R&D. So WDTS, the office where I and Alison come from, expands the reach of Office of Science workforce development efforts by leading a national level portfolio of workforce training programs with all 17 DOE national laboratories at undergraduate, graduate, and faculty level, and actively promoting science, energy literacy, and academic achievements at regional and national level via science competitions for middle and high schools. So internally, we actively coordinate with other DOE offices and with other agencies and external stakeholders. We coordinate with others through the interagency working group, such as the example that Alison talked about, the interagency and the COSTEM. So just give you a flavor about the type of program we support. Start with the Computational Science Graduate Fellowship. This is one of the long-lasting graduate fellowships sponsored under the Office of Science. It supports graduate students towards a PhD degree, also support master students in high-performance computational science and engineering. One of the main signature of this program is the requirement of a DOE lab practicum. Essentially, is the students go to a national lab, complete a project on-site with a laboratory mentor. The second program I'd like to bring to your attention is an intensive 6-week undergraduate course hosted either at a national lab or a university. So nuclear chemistry and radiochemistry summer school. The reason that we support this activity is not just its mission critical, it's also because some of these areas have limited or no coverage in the formal university curriculum. So it's very important for Department of Energy Office of Science to continue the support, leverage with the expertise from DOE National Laboratory. And the third program is the US Particle Accelerator School. This is a program that provides intensive 2-week courses, curriculum for graduate students, postdocs, DOE laboratory staff, and industry to learn about the most advanced development in accelerator science. It's offered 2 times a year. One of the main features of this program is that instructors are coming from DOE national laboratories and the universities. They are volunteers. Some of them from universities and the national laboratories from other countries. In most recent years, Office of Science started to support new research traineeships focused on areas that is critically important to Office of Science mission. Here's the highlight that high energy physics HEP started the traineeship on accelerator science a couple of years ago, and last year started a new traineeship in addition to the accelerator science with a focus on instrumentation. Both of these high energy physics traineeship focus on graduate level training. From last year, the nuclear physics program office and isotope R&D and production office respectively started a new traineeship supporting both undergraduate and graduate students. So I want to use the pie chart to give you some idea about the size of our program. As you can see here, so the majority, three-quarter of our programs are the 4 national laboratory-based workforce training programs. So let's see. So let me get into a little bit more detail about this program. So the 4 major laboratory-based workforce training programs include SULI undergraduate laboratory internship program. SULI is the largest and continue to be in high demand to undergraduate students from 2 or 4-year colleges and universities and the DOE national laboratories. So in the SULI program, we have about 8% on average, both in applications and participation from minority serving institutions. The community college internships is DOE's flagship program that is dedicated to community college students. Typically, 25% of the participants from minority serving institutions. The visiting faculty program support faculty appointments from HBCUs and other minority serving institutions. About 50% of the visiting faculty participants from minority serving institutions. Among that, 1/3 from HBCUs. And the 4th program is the Office of Science Graduate Student Research Program that supports graduate thesis research at the doctor level in high need areas of workforce development, within the Office of Science Research portfolio. So it's mission driven. On average, about 15% awardees, graduate awardees are from minority serving institutions, and 1/3 of our awardees are young female scientists. So I'd like to highlight that my office relies significantly on DOE 17 national laboratories and scientific user facilities to support that, to manage this program. We provide the funding, but the actual execution, particularly for the SULI, CCI, and visiting faculty program, is really at the national lab. DOE lab is the DOE National Laboratory System provide access to leading scientists, world-class scientific user facilities and instrumentation, and large-scale multidisciplinary research programs that either limited or unavailable in university of industry. So WDTS office leverage these assets to develop and train post-secondary students and faculty in support of DOE mission. So just to highlight, the DOE laboratory-based workforce training model adds rich value to university-based training in 4 areas. The programs connect students and faculty with a unique hands-on research and discovery learning environment at the DOE National Laboratories. The students work side by side with DOE laboratory scientists and engineer mentors on real projects, focus on grand challenges of national and international importance. Team science is a signature of DOE National Laboratories. The students work with a team of researchers. Some projects involve international collaboration. While working on their projects at DOE National Laboratories, students are exposed to multiple different career pathways and to learn with scientists, engineers, technicians, and the administrative staff. Professional development is an integral part of the WDTS laboratory-based workforce training experience, recognized by WDTS office as a model practice for implementing our programs. DOE host laboratories develop curriculum of professional development activities required for WDTS interns, such as workshop for communication skill and technical writing, lecture series on DOE science and technology, peer and social networking activities, and career and graduate school panels. So since talking about professional development activities, last year due to pandemic, we have transformed some of these activities into the virtual world, such as very successfully host a virtual internship or career fair targeted at minority serving institutions and underrepresented population groups, and also virtual graduate school recruitment fair to provide opportunities for students to explore their options for going to graduate school for advanced degrees. So I stopped there. I also shared these 4 slides for each of the laboratory-based workforce training program in 1-pager style. So I want to bring to your attention of the red highlighted letter. That's the ongoing application. I highly encourage you help us to spread the word. I thank you very much here. So those are shared through the organizer in this convening session. Feel free to distribute them as far-reaching as possible. So so far I introduced existing workforce development programs and activities in Office of Science. So looking forward to the coming new year, Office of Science has a new initiative for workforce development called Renew. This is in FY 2022 President budget request, reaching a new energy sciences workforce. So the Renew initiative really demonstrates Office of Science commitment to advance a diverse, equitable, and inclusive research community. This commitment is key to providing the scientific and technical expertise for U.S. leadership in mission areas. So the Renew initiative is Office of Science-wide, involve all the research program offices and technology office, and my office, the workforce development for teachers and scientists. I think I stopped there. I hope I have provided some context to help facilitate your discussion of this group. Thank you very much.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I also want to warn you that those of us in the DC area are getting ready for a storm. So some or all of us may be losing power. If that happens, we'll figure it out. But feel free to just unmute yourself and ask any questions of our friends at Department of Energy.
Hi, this is Casey Red. I'm at APLU, which is in the DC area, and then with the Aspire Alliance. And you touched on this a little bit, Ping, but about how you have turned some of your internships to a virtual environment. Can you talk a little bit more about that and what's the plan for continuing that? Does it expand access to more students? Is that something that you're thinking about continuing, even if we're, if we don't have to be remote? What's the thinking of DOE around that?
So currently, so the virtual really because let me put it this way. So pre-COVID, right? Let's take a step back. Is that pre-COVID under so-called the normal circumstances? Okay. So this is actually the on-site training, deep dive, deep immersion of a internship in the national lab, unique, training and the career development environment is a signature of our program. Due to COVID-19, very special, unusual challenges. We want to promote the safety, of the community within national lab and around the national lab. There are people, living around the national lab, support or work in the national lab. So we quickly transition also to protect the students, going to national labs. So we quickly adapted, transition all our programs into virtual mode or hybrid mode, depends on the need of students and depends on the operation status of national laboratories, So currently, we're still only, as far as I know, only a few labs started to have a hybrid, certain areas, they have to go on site. Those relate to have security reasons, can only be done at the lab or considered mission critical. That's the basic criteria, mission critical. But most of them, particularly, related to computation, related to theory, some of them, so could be done virtually. So I would say the virtual mode is really a strategy motivated and developed and a very special, extraordinary circumstance. Going forward, it's really how we're gonna, define our mode going forward. It's a challenge. I'm honest with you. I do not have a definite answer for you at this moment because it's highly depend on the DOE's safety guidelines, and the operation schedule and the status progress at the DOE national laboratories, which itself depends on which state, which region you're in. It's very different. So I'm remain optimistic, but we already learned from last year. We must learn to be adaptable and resilient. But regardless, whatever gonna happen down the road, we're fully committed to support students, support, this training experience, either virtually or physically, if it's feasible, to support their educational and career aspirations. So thank you for your question.
Hello, may I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Thank you. And thank you, Ping, so much for the presentation. I'm Dana Harmon. I lead a group in Texas called the Texas Energy Poverty Research Institute. And we work a decent amount with the Department of Energy, mostly the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy. And in some cases, we are working with the national labs on those projects that the DOE is funding. I'm curious if there may be opportunities that you see to coordinate. That work is often separate from the workforce development work that we're doing now. I'm wondering if there are opportunities to coordinate within DOE. For example, if we were able to use some of our projects to create internships with DEI objectives, is there an opportunity to coordinate between DOE offices?
DOE office is actually the coordination always ongoing. Yeah, always ongoing. And currently the DEI initiative in office of in DOE U.S. Department of Energy is coordinated through the ED, Economic Development and the Diversity Office. I hope you already heard Sri Lanka Baker, right? Yeah.
Of course. Yes.
So, yeah, she's the leader. So I would highly recommend you schedule a meeting, reach out to her or her office, because the whole DOE DEI initiative is coordinated under her leadership. Yeah.
Thank you. I will do that. We are looking for opportunities to integrate sort of the two sides of our work with a DEI focus. And so there's a piece of this is the workforce development piece, and then there's the on the ground research that our institution is conducting. And so opportunities to bring those together are always welcome. So I appreciate the advice.
Yeah. So I'm just curious. Yeah. Allow me to. I'm not trying to use the question, answer your question. I'm curious about your work, the work you have achieved and plan to do. So do you do anything related to environmental justice? I mean, I heard the word poverty. I hope I heard correctly. Is that in the name of the institute, right?
That is correct.
Work with sort of the energy community, energy community refer to energy that refer to, the traditional mining, coal, industry dependent. Yeah.
Our work is a little bit different in that you are correct. We are the Texas Energy Poverty Research Institute, and I apologize. I have 4 kids above me that are jumping around. School hasn't started yet, so sorry for the noise. But a lot of our work has to do with energy accessibility and affordability, and we look at residential energy cost burdens, and therefore we do a lot of work related to energy efficiency and access to renewable energy for underserved communities. Participation in the clean energy economy is kind of the flip side of that coin related to energy affordability.
Yes.
And I can follow up with you later. Perhaps we can schedule a conversation about if there's a way to bring these things together more holistically.
I certainly encourage you to consider reach out to Sri Lanka. Yeah. So that's the area she looks into, sort of.
Thank you.
Yeah. So workforce development certainly one of the things, very important things, for community. So I guess your work, your audience, your stakeholder, rural area, right? Rural area, underserved areas, right?
Rural and urban areas in Texas.
Okay.
We have 4 of the largest metro areas in the US, and energy insecurity looks and feels different in those communities, but is equally important. And so we do work across both. And then we have a rather complicated electricity market here in Texas, which just kind of adds this layer of complexity to it.
Right. So in the workforce arena, are you focusing on what level of focusing? Are you targeted as certification, credentials?
So I'm the PI on an NSF Includes grant, and we've developed a cohort of 3 cities, including Houston, but also Detroit and Minneapolis. And we are, one of our challenges is actually focusing our area, because we are going all the way from technical assistant certifications for like solar installations or energy efficiency down through high school education. And part of our cohort wants to bring us into early education. And so part of what we're trying to do is really focus our efforts so that we can phase our approach so that we have the greatest impact that ultimately results in more inclusive participation in the clean energy economy. And apologies for taking too much time for this.
No, this is very interesting discussion. It's very relevant. I want to share the following for you to consider. One is to reach out to Sri Lanka. So she will give you some idea about the whole, to address your coordination question. Another thing I think maybe more practically useful maybe is in terms of funding is check the ERE website. So I hope everybody saw the news, right? We have this 1 trillion, it's historical, right? Bill just passed last night, okay, 11 hours or something. So this bill, infrastructure bill, this bill actually brings a lot of funding opportunity for ERE. Sorry, I'm using the jargon, forgive me. Let me spell the whole thing for you. Go to DOE, type the keyword energy, electricity, and renewable energy. So that is a big program office. They're focused on applied research. So in this infrastructure bill just passed, provide a lot of funding to them, and one of their key pillars was workforce development. So I intuit. Sorry, I haven't read the bill. I haven't read the bill yet. But I feel that's a direction it's worth for you consider to put some effort in to explore opportunity with that office, workforce development that relevant to your interest, because the things you do is very high on, I think, is very relevant to almost everything currently on the priority agenda. So yeah, so thank you, Dina.
Thank you.
I have a question. I know DOE has a Native American tribal program, and we're called Native Food Energy Water Systems Alliance. Do you have someone that works specifically with Alliance partners or with the Includes program?
Alice, by the way, very good to see you again in this occasion. Ping, yeah.
Hi, Ping. How you doing?
Yeah, I originally from the same, yeah. This is my first faculty mentors advisor, PhD advisor. So great to see you. so
grandchild.
Yes, yeah, grandma, my godmother. Yeah, one of the godmothers. So Alice, so let me think. So for the research program, right, supported by BS, it might be, but not directly from WDTS, the work we do currently. The Alliance, the tribal. I know that nuclear energy office. Do you know Melinda Higgins?
Well, I do know we have contacts at Los Alamos National Labs for internships. But
Right.
I'm thinking more broadly, because tribal lands have a lot of potential for self-determination in energy. And I know
Right.
that there are a number of programs, and it interlaps with water and food. And so I was just kind of wondering, there is a big Native American program at DOE.
Yes.
There's been any history of working with the Includes program at NSF on Alliance or other projects?
Sorry, I'm ignorant on that. Yeah, I don't have information for you for that. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
if we wanted to start something, what would we need to do?
So reach out to the office. Yeah, it's called the Indian tribal office. There's an office for that.
Yes, yeah, I'm looking at their website.
Yeah, you can directly reach out to that. Yeah.
Okay, good seeing you.
Same here. Really great to see you.
We're just a little bit over time. So if anybody else has anything they'd like to ask, but if you also need to go, I understand. But feel free to jump in if you have a question. I don't know exactly if any. Okay, Howard, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Ping. I've worked with the Department of Energy for many, many years, and on and off, and I really appreciate all your efforts. I've worked with some of your predecessors in STEM education and so on at Department of Energy. Casey and I are involved with and includes Alliance that deals with diversifying faculty, STEM faculty at many large, mostly large research universities. And I'm wondering, I didn't notice in your programs a specific focus on faculty. There's a lot of focus on undergraduate students, a lot of focus on graduate students and postdocs. Is there anything that we might discuss maybe in the future, we don't have to talk about it now, that might relate to diversifying faculty members?
Absolutely, absolutely. So in one of my handout, we actually have a program focused on faculty called Visiting Faculty Program. But as you pointed out, your program, I hope I heard correctly, is that you focus on R1 universities, right? Research intensive universities.
It's R1s, MSIs, you know, we've got a mix.
Oh, okay, okay. So the visiting faculty program we support at the DOE National Lab is we focus on non-R1, you know, like the faculty must from an institution that not classified in the Carnegie Mellon classification as have very high or high research activity, but all the HBCUs are qualified, you know. So we actually have a program for that. Under the new initiative I was talking about, we may even have more opportunity to develop, you know, diversity faculty, bring them leverage with expertise, you know, at the national lab, particularly focused, but our focus will be on minority serving institutions, faculty, underrepresented minority serving institution, you know, like HBCU, Hispanic institution, tribal colleges, you know, tribal colleges. So
Right.
Native Hawaiian, Native Alaskan, you know, that's what we consider truly underrepresented minority serving institutions. So I'm looking forward to talk to you more about the possibility, you know, particularly focus on faculty, you know, faculty diversity.
Absolutely.
Thank you for raising that. Yeah, you are absolutely right. Yeah, even in the programs, I talk about the research training programs, right? Research training program. One of the points that brought to us is that for minority serving institutions, they have very limited resources. You cannot just say, okay, we're going to support students, trainees. You must provide support to faculty, you know, either their time, either equipment or other ways, because they don't, you cannot expect them because their institute may not have the resource to support them. Even you provide money to support the students. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, so absolutely, you make a very important point. Thank you, Howard.
Well, we might follow up with it then, Ping, and thank you so much for that.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, my light is blinking. If I suddenly disappear, I didn't do that. Yeah, the storm did that for me. Yeah.
So you live in DC?
I'm actually in Virginia, the DC metro area. Yeah. So, yeah. We currently all virtual. We don't know when we're gonna go back yet. So, yeah, this goes back to Casey's question. Because we don't know that yet.
That's right.
I mean, originally we already had some kind of plan, but Delta, you saw a recent change, right, related to Delta. So at least you might have heard from Berkeley lab, you know, very tricky situation. Yeah. So
From what was that?
Delta variant.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I said you might heard from Berkeley lab, LBNL. Yeah. About
what from LBNL?
So based on what I heard from Berkeley, they already told me they won't gonna allow any students on site until next spring. Yeah. So.
Well, that's brand new.
So that's what I heard from my source.
It might also be interesting to have a conversation with some of the agencies in the STEM education community about what do we want to keep about remote internships, externships, right? Like it does potentially open access. We've learned a lot over the last year about how to do this better, universities and probably the agencies. So what is it that we want to keep even when we go back to normal, whatever normal is? So
yeah, so there are also some aspect, Kissy, is that we actually talked to some of the tribal universities, right? Tribal university will say, hey, we offer this, we can bring your students to national lab, you know. And then you will hear tribal universities say, well, our students want to stay on their land. So
Yes.
particularly from, I mean, Alice, you know this very well. You work with the Alliance, you know, so because they have such a deep connection to their land, you know, and they prefer to do things on their land. So that's cultural reasons. Another thing is that their family counting on their support as income, part of the income to support family. And then they may be needed, you know, by their family. You cannot ask somebody, our internship is 10 weeks, right? So we're talking about perhaps in that case, you know, to provide equitable access, maybe virtual, you know, maybe a way, maybe an option for students to be able to participate in the internship. So even without COVID, you know what I'm saying? So just give you an example, we're looking into this, yeah. But virtual, we've heard students, yeah, so we collect inputs from students, like post-survey, right? So we have heard the mode of this year and then the mode of last year at the very beginning is different. I can tell you that, is that just, this is my overall impression just by looking at students post-survey. At the beginning, when the COVID started, we offered virtual, students were excited, right? Like, great, but now after students went through this, students, and then particularly newcoming students, have strong desire, said, I love everything, I appreciate your support, but I feel this is there's a missing element, very important, is that to be able to on-site. Even the ones doing computational, you know, related work or doing theoretical work, essentially they can do anywhere, but they still think the opportunity to be able to just sit in the office next to a world leading scientist or group of experts next door, and then just can walk over to talk to them, makes that much difference. So virtual is important, but you're right. This needs to be looked at carefully, you know, like the pro and cons. Yeah. So anyway, I stopped there. I just want to share some of the things I heard from students. Yeah. So this is not from me, but from the students actually. Yeah, people also talk about Zoom fatigue, right? I think you already heard that from me.
It's opened up possibilities in terms of really understanding context, though. I mean, and I agree with you that we need to preserve what works well in the
Yes,
virtual world.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
It's great to see you. And thank you all. Yeah, thank you all. And I wish you a good evening. Here is already evening. West Coast, I guess you still have lots of daytime to go through. So take care, everybody. Thank you. Really
You too.
appreciate
Bye.
you.
Thank you all. We'll see you all tomorrow morning at 11:30.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.